Hello and welcome to my channel. I hope you enjoy the story. This was written by a real human. So please leave a like if you enjoy it to help the channel and subscribe for future content. It's free. Links to the story and Patreon will be in the description. Please go and support the author. Any support is always appreciated. If a human narrator would like to narrate my stories, please contact me. I write these in my spare time between work and my children and just don't have the time or quiet space to narrate them myself. I hope you can understand. Thanks for your time, and again I hope you enjoy the story. And for the love of everything YouTube, this is literature, so please leave my channel alone. Let's get into it, folks. Cats at the Cradle Part 11. Lori groaned in pain as the babies moved. She couldn't believe it, she was going to be a mother. The pain receded for a little bit and she found herself staring out the window of her and Tim's room in the hospital on Frim Station, the Orion's new home. It had been twice as long of a pregnancy as normal for her species. To be expected, the doctors had said. The father was a human. The engineering and construction teams that had been working to complete the new Orion home had started to leave the now operating habitat, and Orions had begun moving in. Of course there were others. But space was only offered after the Orions had established where they wanted their businesses, residences, restaurants, and shops to go. Due to the similar environmental necessities, the majority of those that had decided to rent space in the Orion habitat were humans, Voidini, and a few Kicklats whom the Orions were quite fond of due to their naturally helpful nature and willingness to teach the Orions how to farm the plants they could eat. It wasn't like they were able to save much of Farsi's flora or fauna. No one had been thinking about anything but immediate survival. A single small purple therium tree and a gurgberry bush were the extent of the plants they had brought with them. How she wished the Orion ships had astrobotany labs on them like the U.S. Alliance ships did. Another sharp pain as her breath was taken away. It hurt. She could see Tim looking at the monitor, concern etched on his face, a day of stubble darkening his chin and cheeks. Breathe, honey, 1, 2, 3. She lost track of his voice, focusing on squeezing his large hand. She had accidentally clawed him earlier, but he casually wrapped a piece of cloth around it after the contractions resided enough she could let go, and took her hand again, determination set on his strong features. Will they be healthy? What would their children look like? What mannerisms would they inherit? How would they fit in with either culture? Would they be welcomed or shunned by their society? Her mind raced with 100 questions as she tried to breathe through the pain. The monitor started to beep in a more rapid tone for a moment, and soon an Eladrin popped into the room to switch it off and note something in the computer before she walked over to Lori. Miss Lori, I'm your nurse Karen. It's time to disable the nanites for a natural birth. We have a vapo-stimulant modified for your biology to assist with the pain. I know you wanted this to be as natural as possible. Please remember that once this starts we won't be able to give you anything else for the pain. Do you want the vapo? When Lori nodded yes, the woman held a small vial with a nozzle made to fit inside an Orion's nose and said, take a deep breath. As Lori did, the nurse pressed a button on the side of the bed and a signal was sent out disabling her personal nanites so they would stop trying to repair the natural progression of birth and inevitably cause problems as the process was trying to happen. Pain washed over her and she let out a loud yell of anguish before the vapo-stimulant kicked in and Lori seemed to enter a dreamlike state. She was there, she was doing it, but she had no idea what exactly was happening. Tim held her hand and looked into her eyes as she gritted her teeth on the soft rubber mouthguard someone had put in her mouth and pushed. So much pushing. And again. She was exhausted and yet the doctor continued to tell her to push. With a loud groan, she felt the last bit of pressure leave her body, and Tim stroking her face, his bright blue eyes so much like the sky. Mom, don't wake her. Lori heard Tim's voice. Soft but commanding nonetheless. She tried to open her eyes but her eyelids were so heavy. They gave her the newest personal nanites after the delivery. Give her and them some time. Oh hush, your fussing is going to wake her. Female, definitely sounded close to the same way Tim spoke, if not possibly thicker in what he called a Boston accent. She couldn't move. Her body felt like it had literally ran out of everything. Oh, Halleck, the babies. She managed to open her eyes, and she could see Tim at the foot of the bed speaking to a woman no taller than her, but with long black hair done up in a braid, silver streaked through it. Tim, she managed. He was there looking at her, his blue eyes comforting. It's okay, everything is okay. The babies are fine. He motioned over to an incubation chamber designed from Orion specs and she watched his face light up. All healthy. Give me one moment, I have to. He stepped away. The dark-haired woman replaced him, fine lines beginning to crease her features in such a way as to give her the appearance of weathered wisdom, and she immediately noticed she had the same blue eyes as Tim. Young lady, I am so proud of you. Congratulations. They're so precious. The woman grabbed her shoulder and squeezed with affection. Mom, please, Tim said. His mother gave her a pat on the shoulder as she turned to address her son. Make yourself useful and roll that incubator over here so this woman can see my precious grandchildren. She didn't have to wait long as Tim rolled it to the other side of the bed. She was stunned, overwhelmed, excited, anxious. Everything all in one as she looked through the glass at her and Tim's beautiful pink-skinned babies. They had a thin coat of fur similar to her calico coloration, and one of them had a definite Orion nose. All three of them seemed to be wrapped in a tight blanket. They're perfect, she managed as the nurse came back in. Just perfect. Can Private Jackson hear them? Asked the nasally irritating voice of Felix. I'm right fucking here, you ass. And yes, I can hear them, answered Private Jackson. I can fucking hear her 3 floors down in section D too, but don't take my word for it. He waved a scarred hand. He knew the man would wait for Specialist Toa to confirm it. As he received confirmation, he leaned in to fiddle with something inside Jackson's neural implant. Soon he couldn't hear the children anymore. He hadn't been able to sleep peacefully for months. His children had been growing quite nicely and he actually couldn't wait to spend more time with them, but their mother. Somehow she was still linked telepathically to him. And by God, she didn't seem happy about it. So were his children somehow, but they weren't the problem. She kept screaming at him he should be dead. And it's not natural. And then the weirdest shit, flipping to being nasty and nice about 3 weeks ago, even begging him to come visit her. He still shivered thinking about waking up at his door and reaching for the access panel. He immediately went to the doctor. And they had tried sleeping aids, but still nothing helped. And a guard was always posted close by. Finally, the doctor told him she would have to bring Felix in to help because she thought it might be a byproduct of his new neural link. But after days of testing, nothing managed to help block her out of his mind. As Felix shook his head and admitted in his nasal voice, "Sorry, Private, looks like the bitch is going to live rent-free in there until you can figure out how to block her yourself." The bad part was the man sounded legitimately apologetic for not being able to help with her intrusions. He had read everything he could find on the Viril. There wasn't much material available. What he could figure out was that his children, Neef, Raj, Aaron, and Donna, were telepathically connected to their mother and him. The book hadn't said anything about males of their species, only drones, and those his brain automatically logged as being like ants. He sat up from the bed after Felix finished adjusting his implant back to its original setting. He didn't mind hearing his children, and it helped him know when they were hungry. That had been a learning experience and something he had only gotten right after the bitch downstairs flashed a picture of chewed up plant and animal matter being given to the children. He had been going nuts from the loud high-pitched crying squeaks his children had suddenly started emitting from their very human-like mouths. She had been almost desperate to show him the images too. "Thanks anyways, Felix. I know you're just an ass and it's nothing personal, just no one ever showed you bedside manners," he finished in his head as he gave the man a nod as Felix left the room. "Can I see her, doctor?" he asked, not sure why the question had come out. The doctor looked at him for a moment before replying, her green skin shimmering as she moved to look at the data pad she had been using to record everything from what he was eating, what the children ate, everything, and after scanning it and swiping a few times, she said, "I think we can arrange that. She's been refusing to take nourishment and demanding to see you, so this may work out for the best." "Are you sure though? If she's still in there?" She didn't say any more, but Jackson didn't need her to understand her meaning. "I am. She keeps showing me things, not bad things, but I can't find a reference, so I need to know. I think it has to do with the children," he said. As soon as she heard the reason he wanted to visit the Viril, she nodded and said, "Whenever you're ready. The children seem to be asleep and I have a direct link set up to your communicator if they do wake." He took a deep breath and stood, taking time for his prosthetic leg to relink to his neural implants and sync with his brain. He had to admit it was weird knowing that something was essentially carbon fiber nanotechnology sending signals like it was actually his leg. His eye was even worse. He had to remember not to squint or it zoomed in. It had taken weeks of physical therapy to adjust. They made their way through the complex. The Viril and Sagoth broodling captives had been isolated on a station built on Europa to house inmates from humanity's colonial times. While outdated, it didn't take much to refit the structure to hold the aggressive Xenos. And the climate outside would prevent any colonies from forming in the Sol system. He couldn't wait to go home, but seeing as neither he nor their alien mother could get very far away without causing extreme duress in the children and the other individual, he didn't know when that might be. He had nearly gone into a coma when they tried to transport her for proper processing and the administration of the nanites. Thankfully they had been watching for anything out of the ordinary, and Felix, still monitoring his implant's functions, had noticed and alerted the doctor when he hit the floor in his room, unable to do anything but scream in unbelievable pain. Thankfully the doctor had been quick enough to halt the transfer and get her back to her cell, where she was processed virtually and administered nanites. That had been around the time those fucking dreams she kept sending him went from nasty nightmarish things to subtle, almost nice dreams. The problem was she was in them always. He could feel her getting closer as they walked around the last corner. At the end of the hallway was a single-room cell with a large portion of the wall made of plasteel. A small section had been portioned off with a thin white curtain. That was the facilities, he was sure. The virile female's head turned to watch them approach, and she slowly stood from the odd mesh seat she sat on and walked over, the odd mixture of ant lower abdomen and humanoid upper torso moving fluidly. At least the administrators of the facility had issued them shirts, he thought. He just stared at her and she him. Finally the doctor said, "I'll be around the corner if you need me. Don't worry, Felix is monitoring your implant if anything happens." He gave her a nod without breaking eye contact with the blue ant woman. As soon as she was around the corner and out of sight, the virile female's composure failed and she softly began to cry. This was never supposed to happen. If I could take it back I would. I don't know what to do. Her soft voice said, the nanites translating. You were never supposed to survive, none ever do. I don't know what this is or how to fix it. While her voice was soft, the desperation was apparent. Never supposed to happen. You don't know. He forced the words out through his clenched teeth, rage building. I don't even know your name. He had only visited her once before, and it had resulted in nothing but her throwing vile images at him until he had finally had to leave. I'll tell you what this is. What you are. You are a fucking parasite. Your very species' existence is based on harvesting male DNA for propagation and then brainwashing their children to be just like you. But it failed this time, didn't it? He let the question linger, not taking his eye off hers. Yes, you're right. She broke down completely, even sniveling as she cried. I am called Zava, and I don't know what happened. She visibly took a breath. He could see this was hard for her, and he didn't care. It's been a millennium since my species had a drone survive the mating process. This link we seem to have inadvertently developed was lost. Since then only mothers could link with their daughters. And now, I not only feel you and our daughters, I feel our sons as well. She slumped next to the plasteel window. If we would have known this could happen with your species, we would have avoided you and your systems. This, she gestured between them, is unnatural. You are not virile. She was close enough that he could see her tears. And he could feel she was sincere through their mental link. He didn't know how he knew, but it was there. Was he beginning to grasp this telepathy BS? Not quite, the virile sniffled. You're starting to pick up on the emotions. If I was explaining it to one of our daughters, I would say you're blocking yourself off from most of what I have tried to send you. He scoffed. I call BS. I've been seeing images you sent me all the time. How is that blocking myself off? She sniffed, rubbing her shoulders with her very human-like upper hands. I think it's subconscious. However your brain is wired, I get a jumble of emotions, mostly rage, anger, determination. But I never get a mental picture from you back, just emotions, and I could tell you weren't getting my messages. She finally stopped sniffling. I definitely was getting vivid pictures of what you did to Private Simons. And myself on that ship. He could feel his rage still simmering. And you enjoyed it. He accused. And now you send me almost non-stop salacious images of things I know we haven't done. He was getting angrier. If that was possible. I need to see our children, please. She looked up at him, her red-rimmed eyes still damp. I'll stop, I swear it, just please let me see our children. Please. He stared at her. Oh, how he hated her even more in that moment. He felt like the fucking bad guy, and she was the one that came here into Sol's system with hostile intentions, or he wouldn't have been ordered to board her ship. He took a breath before closing his eyes and trying to center his thoughts. You will stop immediately unless there is an issue with our children. After I see this has happened and not before, I'll speak to the doctor about it. He heard himself say gruffly. He turned to leave and got 4 steps before she spoke again. Thank you. Her voice stopped him for a moment. But only a moment, as he hurriedly strode away. As he made it around the corner, he slumped against the wall, his erratic heartbeat causing him to clench his chest. The doctor was right there, reassuring him it was all right. It had taken all his willpower not to open the door. Even now at the end of the hall, he had to force himself to calm down. I need to get away from her, Doc, he said, starting towards the lift. I can barely control myself. Felix, if you can hear me, man, I hope your fucking neural link caught whatever just happened. It was on the lift ride up that he lost consciousness. At the same moment, caught on the security feed, so did Zava. The last thing Jackson saw before his prosthetic eye went black was the doctor easing him onto the floor of the lift. She was yelling something, but he couldn't hear anything over the sudden ringing in his ears. Thanks for listening. Please leave a like and hit the subscribe button if you enjoyed the story. If you feel generous and want to support the author's work, go visit the Patreon link in the description. Any support is welcome. Until next time.